You're going.
Back now, right?
No. So start live streaming and then maybe it takes a second.
It just started back, so it's a new one. Okay, people, we lost the live stream, but we're back again.
Are we? Okay, we're going 2019. What does 2019 mean to you, brother?
I mean, let me see. Go to my page and see if we're back.
We're back.
I can't
we're
believe.
Back. Oh man, I'm live.
I can't believe
I
this.
don't know. Finish. Okay, hold on.
I can't believe this.
That's the way it goes, man. Technology, brother.
Technology.
Hey, who is it?
I don't know. All right, I did the wrong thing.
No, you did. Don't worry about it.
Let's go. Okay, people. So we're back.
We are back. Hold up, man. I don't know where I am.
We're back.
I'm posting. Delete.
We were having a robust conversation before that.
That's
but we're back because I see someone.
We're back. All right. I'm glad we didn't bump you, man. It's the government working against us.
It's the government. It's the people working against. You are back on. Thank you, Tracy.
Hey.
We're back on. So all Franklyn has to do is connect his pages again.
Where am I? I'm connecting again.
Yeah, you gotta go back up and find the.
Oh yeah, I see you. Yeah.
Okay.
Share.
Let me make sure that's the one. Yeah, we're right here live. Okay, so
share. Then what? Share to page.
Yeah. Write a message and then share. Okay, people. So we're back after a snap.
2019. What does it mean to you, black people? Black people.
1554.
16.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. 15. Wait a minute now.
He's going with the fabric.
Hold it. 1554 slavery started. It didn't get to the Americas until 1619. Well, so is this what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
See, watch out now.
15.
Stay with me. Stay with me now.
I know what you're trying to say.
1619.
1619. 2019. Means African Americans or Negroes as they're called here, because every place else we're called Africans. Negroes only exist in America because I believe inside every Negro is an African. We just try to pull them out. But if you recognize that the first slaves were really brought here to Jamestown, listen it up, in 1619, which is the record of America. I realize that slavery has always existed, because even if you want to go back to the 15th, Arab slavery existed before that. Even as we know, biblical times there was slavery. It was in chattel slavery that existed here in America, but it was slavery nevertheless. Because even if you ask a brother the difference between county jail and federal jail, motherfucker tell you jail is jail. All right, so that's the thing. So going by our American standard records, the first 20 Africans brought here to the new colony was 1619. That's what I'm going by. And I recognize it can be different numbers because the Nation of Islam talks about different numbers, and us being the indigenous people and things like that. And I realize Farrakhan's people may say, I'm going to go by that one, because that one's probably the most insignificant to me.
What's that?
The 1619 record of the first 20 Africans that were brought here to the original colonies, before the original colonies. So that's what I would go
But there were African style people walking around here already.
They
just weren't from Africa.
Not even
they had already crossed the land bridge. It's about
nobody knows.
13,000 years before.
I know. I'm talking about the first boated Negroes. The first boated Negroes brought here for the specific purpose of developing the land.
Okay.
20 Africans that reported on that first voyage.
What about the 1700s when they expelled? When they were expelling, I'm talking about England, when they were expelling the black English who were bleached, basically, who were in charge.
Also, recognizing that England did away with slavery and its abolishment in part of their laws and capturing Africans before America. I'm with that, but I'm only going to deal with that because of the factual nature of the paperwork that we all can agree exists. Paperwork. The first paperwork recorded that we can look at that factually establishes Africans coming to this particular shore in Jamestown, I believe Jamestown, Virginia, were the 20 that were brought. And that's what I'm going to go with. So, moving aside from that, that's the factual point. Let's just deal. Can we agree that that's a factual point? There may be others. There may be presses, but this is the factual recorded of this country.
400 years.
2019
will be 400 years
since the first slaves
were
brought here.
Right.
So what are we going to do? What are Africans trying to conceptualize to do to prepare with the incoming?
I know.
Because Bush knew it, and I'm telling you, Bush knew it. They were preparing for it under his. I'm talking about Bush daddy. They was preparing for it 60 years ago. Bush's son still preparing for it. Obama tried to placate and change the system somewhat to get the proper imaging to allow these things to happen. Because during the Obama administration, Negroes became weak and passive. And I'm talking about our leadership.
You have no disagreement.
I'm talking about our leadership. I recognize that the higher rate of unemployment among African Americans, which is now somehow being assuaged, but it's not factual. I also recognize that the drug infestation of the past 80 years has done something. The music has done something. As Dr. Francis Cress Welsing told us, it's systems of oppression. Systems built upon systems. It's not just the legal system. It's the lack of the education system, the lack of good nutrition system, the lack of access to better finances to improve the. All of that are systems working together. So here we go, 2019. Now we know Negroes are not going to be able to use their advancement in terms of the melanation of their skin to get them in college. So what will definitely happen is, we were talking earlier, maybe the back rise of the HBCU circuit. So if you have kids going there now, make sure they get their degree. Make sure they finish out. Even if it's at Clark AU or whatever, just remember how they did Morris Brown. How they try to disenfranchise us by taking away the money for all of these schools. And don't forget, as soon as 45 got in there, he brought all of those college professors together. He said, y'all have a seat at master's feet. And there you see.
And they were so happy to take the
photo out. And got nothing.
But
the weakness of black leadership all through this continent, all through America.
Let's stay away from the weakness of black leadership, and let's talk about the weakness of white leadership.
No, they're not weak.
It's a mental illness.
Oh man, they're protecting their own.
It's a mental illness that you would believe that somehow that you will be wiped out genetically. It's a mental illness.
No. Again, Dr. Francis,
I know, but
recognize they'll be wiped out because of the
genetics.
The recessive nature of paleness, if you will.
Okay,
when a black person and a white person.
I disagree with that, right. But however, the mental frailty, along with the physical frailty, and I would say the spiritual frailty of
Billy Graham going to get you
of white leadership and the poor white masses is a problem that cannot be overcome by black people by appeasing or trying to prove that you can dress or you can speak in a certain way. It's not going to be appeased by that because of the fact that it is a mental deficiency. It's a mental frailty. It is a mental illness. Racism, eugenicist thinking, white supremacists, those are mental illnesses, and Trump at least lets us see what W.E.B. Du Bois saw at the turn of the 19th into the 20th century.
Which is what?
That white folks, unfortunately, because of their mental frailty, are inherently evil towards the melanated groups of people on the planet.
Better choice of
they
words.
are so fear causes what?
Causes cops to shoot kids. It causes cops to pull guns on African Americans in various situations, and they use that, and the Supreme Court sustained that by saying all they have to do is say I was in fear of my life, I was in fear, I was in jeopardy, white flight. But you got to understand though. It's not a frailty. How about it's a realization for those Klan members and those people in power who specifically make laws against the progress of helping the disenfranchised, whether it's black or white, sustaining themselves knowing that they are genetically inferior due to when they mix with African Americans or even Asians or Hispanics.
It comes back to me. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Or it just can be me. But at the same time, that mixture, because of the genetic frailty, it makes some people, like you look at Sessions and those other guys, confirmed in what they're doing, and to them it's not a genetic defect, but it's a genetic aspiration to continue against the tide, because the tide would simply say that simply around 2040, which we talked about earlier, another less than 20 years, God giving me another 20 years left. Minorities as a whole number will outweigh in terms of the total number of white folks. But white folks have power and say in the same laws that 45 is putting in now by doing these things, removing educational assistance based on color, by removing and separating Hispanics from their children when they come in the country, by locking up people and saying that they are violators of the law. Get off my prop. That's that old John Wayne shit. If you don't get off my land. But the reality is... Torino. But at the same time, look, he sacrificed himself knowing that he was the great... But that's what they do.
White hope.
So was John... So that's what they do. So was John Wayne. John Wayne spent that whole movie, The Searchers, looking for a little white girl. How many Indians did they kill? Looking for a little white girl.
That movie was long and drawn out.
And they made it seem like that was their mission, to go get the little white girl.
He was out there for 30 years. I've never seen a film where they based it on 30 years. He was old and gray by the time he found Natalie Wood.
Well, they wanted that white girl. They still do.
Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, that film, The Searchers, you have to really put that into your bank, because that helps you understand the psychology. They were writing the psychology of the way white people think within that film. A lot of good
still
films.
Today.
We're mentioning that, still today.
But
you have to go back and
because that's how come a white woman can call the cops on black kids at a pool, because I'm afraid of these niggers.
But see, you have to go back and get the old time thought, because
what about
we're getting ready to come back into
Back to
the
the future. Because wait a minute,
there is no reason.
Wait a minute. Birth of a Nation. What was that? And I'm not talking about the one we seen, or some of us, because many Negroes did not want to see that movie. But the original Birth of the Nation, little black man was chasing after a white woman, and that was the birth of the Klan.
Well, actually, it was a
white
man in black face.
But they didn't make the difference. The representation of a black man going after a white woman led to the rise of the Klan. Led to King Kong.
Yeah,
led to OJ going down.
King Kong was about Jack Johnson.
Well, Jack Johnson was King Kong. He had a few white ladies. I mean, I'm glad that 45 pardoned him, but that ain't mean nothing. He been gone. And Geraldo jumped up there. It was Geraldo. No, who was it? Sylvester Stallone. They looked the same to me.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone. I got my beanie on for you, Sylvester. But believe, we're going back to the future, because they're expecting us to go from the future by taking us back. And the leaders that we have in front of us are not fiery Adam Clayton Powells. They're not even tacit Dr. Kings. And we know that at the time of Martin, we blame us for all kind of other stuff when you get out of line. You talking that? So the fieriness needed to lead a revolution, such as Frederick Douglass, or even as you would think about a Fannie Lou Hamer, or any of the great, even a Harriet Tubman. We got Maxine Waters, that's close, but she wearing a wig. I ain't messing with you, Maxine.
Oh my goodness.
I ain't messing with you, Maxine, because I like them wigs.
It's very important that people begin to watch movies more critically and know what they break down. When you watch a movie like the original Kong was about Jack Johnson. If you don't know, go back and watch it, research it. Google is your friend. The King Kong they came out with in the 80s was about some kind of romantic feeling about America. Go back and research that. The one that came out before they came out with Samuel L. Jackson, the one with Jack Black, was about environmental causes. That's what it was about how the invasion of the man into how the invasion of the man into the jungle destroyed the jungle's ecosystem. That's what that particular one was about. And then the latest one was about how a black man in power will destroy, will kill no matter what. That's what it was. That's Samuel Jackson. Did you see that one? That's what it was about. It was about the tyrannical, that if a black man ever got in power, the tyrannicalness of that black man would cause him to, without reason, just destroy, just because he had a vendetta, because King Kong destroyed, as they were coming in on the helicopters, he destroyed because it was invading into his ecosystem and he didn't understand it, and he was just destroying what was coming into his ecosystem. Right, and so that's what that was about. In the end,
I think no reasoning, Jay-Z and Kanye.
No reasoning whatsoever. So that's what that film was about, really. And I don't know why Samuel Jackson. Did you see the new Tarzan? The last one with Eric from the vampire show that used to be on HBO that went down to Tubulars. But anyway, That's another situation. So, you know, you have to know what's going on in the popular culture of the popular white culture to know what they're thinking about you.
Y'all ready for
that's
that?
Very important.
I know what I think about you. You got to know what you think about yourself. I don't go by all these movies. I appreciate that because all the movies, as you know, Dr. Leonard Jeffries told us, they ain't made for us. They ain't made for us. So,
but when you watch them, it's like The Godfather wasn't made for us, but we watch 1, 2, and 3 religiously. Goodfellas, we watch it
because everybody wants to be a gangster.
No, but really, you should watch it to hear what they really think about you.
Oh yeah, because one time that they said nigga in The Godfather was they said keep it in the colors. Actually, they said about drugs. We keep the drugs in the colored areas. They don't have souls anyway. Let them go ahead and burn in hell. So that's what they talk about. But as you know, podcasts, we try to keep things real, keep it going. And I guess since we're talking about people invading people's environments, I'm gonna add this intergenerational moment. This past week was important. You know, aside from the 2019, the impending doom coming, and you're seeing the legislation being placed in it because they all want us all in the same zip code. It's pretty close to that now anyway. But this week, 2 major albums, 2 major distributors, 2 major icons, if you will, in our community released albums. And I'm using that term, or podcast, or CDs, or whatever it is. They released them on the same day. Streams, whatever it is. Now, we're talking about King Kong. It made me think about my man, Kanye Tither. You know, Kanye produced Nas's album.
Mm-hmm.
Produced it. Mm-hmm. Kanye do a lot of good shit sometimes, man. You need to let people know that. But Jay-Z, being King Kong-like, because if somebody's invading his ecosystem of putting out new music, Jay-Z released his shit on the same day.
Next day.
Well, Japan is the same day. Alright? So check that out. The reason that's Kong-like. He got a problem with the Tither, and he got a problem with Nas from back in the day.
Could it have
so he just said, let me just swipe the both of them.
Could it have just been happenstance?
No. Because I don't believe, see, that's what we say about play. I'm thinking that my man, you know, the Hova realized that he had beef with both these dudes and wanted to set the record straight on who's who, and said, even if it's a day late or whatever, I wanted to go at them. And I could go at them business-like, because I heard Jay-Z shit. I ain't heard none of...
I walked with Nas. That song "Not for Radio" featuring him and.
But we ain't gonna hear none of Nas on radio.
No, I know because it's not for radio.
No, but at the same time, Jay-Z owns, or Jay-Z's organization represents many of the radio stations through through Tyndall, and with the relationship that he has with his wife and the music distributors. So I'm believing that
Title is his.
Tyndall. I'm calling it Tyndall because there's no black people there. Tyndall. That's what it is. But that representation of a business sense.
I'm sure. I don't want to lay anything back, but I'm sure
don't mess with the
that Jay-Z is working on getting code writers in there who are black in there to be able to write code also.
Your wife just chimed in. Jay-Z's music comes with a message. Think so? Kanye's message comes with cooning.
Oh, okay.
They ain't got nothing to do with Nas though. Nas is straight up. T. What up with that T?
Wait. Okay. So let's break this down here, because my wife and I have a podcast called Movies, Music, Culture, and whatever else.
How come T can't pick the movie?
Whatever else
Let T pick
comes
the movie.
to mind.
Did y'all go see Kevin Hart last night?
No. Hold it. She did pick.
You picked The Purge?
She picked the first Purge.
The Purge?
That's right. And we're going to see if it's limited released out here in Las Vegas. We're going to see the other movie with the brother from Atlanta.
Sorry to bother you.
Yeah. We're going
but what about Spikey? Spikey's out. Spikey.
Oh, his movie is out? I didn't know.
I think it's coming out in August. I think it's
August.
But wait a minute.
August 17th.
Hey, hold up. Hey, T, hold up. Hold up. You ready? I'm talking to T. Because I seen your podcast. You driving. T's agreeing. I appreciate that. But T, I know you're going to go see Denzel, right? You know what I'm see Denzel killing white people?
No, wait a minute. Hold
Denzel got my beanie on in the movie. That's why I wore it.
Wait a minute.
Take him to see Denzel for the thriller.
First of all, we saw the first Equalizer.
I know.
And he killed that motherfucker. He was killing motherfuckers. And the first trailer I love the first trailer of part 2.
All right.
Of The Equalizer.
I know you like that part. He'll go see him, but you know, I know we got to pick a movie.
And we're gonna review. We're gonna review.
You get to see T smile. Yeah.
Okay, look. Let's break down on our podcast. I just told you what the name of the podcast.
Tell them again.
You can see that movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind is up.
Wait till you read that shirt.
You can see that on YouTube. Boy, that's gonna be some real acronyms on that. Some real acronym on that.
That's why I put it up to sleep. All the way going around like that.
Yeah. But where was I, man? You're throwing me off, man. Just wait a minute.
Live.
Okay, yeah, it's live, and you're throwing me off. Okay,
you talking about your podcast and going to see Denzel?
Yeah.
Because black men want to see Denzel killing motherfuckers. You know that's still Denzel. They liked him in Training Day. Even though they had Terry Crews.
That's what we talking about.
Terry Crews, you know, but Denzel, they want to see Denzel, man.
Denzel's kicking butt. He's been kicking butt with Andre Fuqua for his director writer buddy for a while. Kicking butt and taking names.
60 years old. You ain't kicking no butt at 60.
Okay, man. You know what? James Cagney and all them, Humphrey Bogart was kicking ass in the 70s. In the age 70,
Humphrey Bogart was in He was shooting dudes.
He was
once
kicking.
In a while.
How about that backhand pimp slap?
Well, that's because you could do that to Peter Lorre because you'll take it and you'll like it. Sit down.
Yeah.
You'll take it and you like it.
And you'll see it. You'll see the slaps going on.
Yo, Philly, what's up, man? Brian Philpotts.
What's going on, Brian?
That's Brian Philpotts' artwork right there.
Yeah, right there on the wall.
If you come to Vegas, you can go to Grits Cafe because Miss Trina Giles participated in our Kemet in the Desert raffle. Right. No. Actually, that was I'm sorry.
No, that was MLK. I mean, Martin Luther King. Come on, Malcolm
X Day.
It's been so many that you have put on to bring culture. To bring awareness, because there's already culture here in Las Vegas.
Just spread it around.
You brought the conscious era in. That's what we'll say. Really,
we had a few events this year. You know, I think we had seven.
And more coming. But that's on the low though.
Men who cook. We got to talk about
that. On the low. But anyway, okay, hip hop.
Men who cook.
We talk about Jay-Z and all that, but what is hip hop about? Hip hop is about I'm the best. I'm able to outdo you. It's male machismo on steroids. And so when knowing what hip hop is about, first hip hop was started to stop the gangs and all that. And we can't speak on the people who did it because they having controversy on their own. Of people who were involved in the beginning of stopping the violence and going and taking the gangs, turning them into breakers, DJs, MCs, and graffiti
people
artists.
Just wanted to hang out.
Okay.
And they took the music out of the schools.
Okay, I can only go. That's right. They took the music out of the schools. That's how I got turntable. One. It was 82 for us.
I'm older than you.
Right.
But I'm remembering when I had music class.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I guess was it my senior year? And while I went to a special, but in any event, when they took the music, when they took the instruments from the kids in the inner city in a lot of those programs, that's when the party started to rise.
That was Reagan.
But really,
it started pre, but Reagan put it into overdrive, bringing it outside.
You know what happened?
Of New York.
New York City's budget under Koch was cut severely due to the recession of the country. So the budget was cut, and that was one of the programs that was easy to cut because they didn't have all these shows like we have now. All we had back then was not even then. They had Fame. They didn't have any entertainment-orientated kind of shows that reached out to the youth to do the creative. It was, Law and Order, Dragnet and shit, whack ass. But when they took the instruments out of inner city schools in New York, Chicago, Detroit, Jersey, Trenton, even down south, because it came a little day later down south.
Right, it came later, but New York was the test model.
Right. Well, it was
moved it across, and that's just like in the new first Purge movie. Staten Island.
This is the new Purge.
It's the test site, and then after that, it spreads out.
Right.
The country goes into the suburbs, and then it didn't take the whites
no
time to kill. In the purges that were after that, because this was a prequel.
Well, I'm gonna set you in bed. Before the Purge, they had this movie called Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay. Oh.
George Romero. Black man survives all night.
Yeah, he
all
survived.
night. All night he survives. Protected the white woman. Protected the white woman. Survived all night.
And
Monsters
then,
as soon as the white people
in the
came
morning,
with guns.
They said,
I think I see one. I think I see one.
Cat
right in the head.
He's pop shot.
That was the purge, man. That was the original. So I give you that for movie.
We've been dying. That's why we need more of our movies where we don't die, and then we can change that narrative.
We die in our own movies. What are you talking about?
I mean,
Superfly. How many people got killed in Superfly?
That wasn't our movie. That's the purge.
That's
a whole.
That's why they're purging.
That was the purge. That wasn't the thing. So anyway,
what's up, LJ man? How you doing, LJ?
Can I get back to hip hop real quick?
Hip hop.
Get back to hip hop. So hip hop is machismo. It's
hip hop is about mogulism. So being a mogul.
Okay.
I'm Cardi B now.
So he's a mogul. So Jay-Z's a mogul, and he owns a company that he can put his music out anytime. He doesn't have to answer to any corporation.
And what's the last music that he put out?
He hasn't. He's talking about his album before, and now Beyonce and himself.
Come on with that.
Come on now. And he has.
We out.
So the main point is hip hop is about that. So when people criticize Jay-Z for doing what is a hip hop bona fides, I say they must not know hip hop.
Hold on.
Yes, right. That's right. That's a hip hop bona fides.
Explain that.
Explain yourself.
There's
certain things in hip hop that you know when you listen to a song that you know that it's bona fide and that they are following the traditions of hip hop. Hip hop bona fide.
With the versing and the music. Not so much the expression of the ideas. It's versing and music now as opposed to the ideas. Because even before,
we're not talking about the watered down people like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who's actually a clone of Extension who passed. If you look at
them
him,
dudes wasn't even on the map.
Right. Now we were just talking about this on the previous podcast. We were talking about how the clown was the representation of the black hobo, right?
The vagrant.
No. But let's just call it because the culture. The reason why I use the word hobo. The reason why I use the word hobo is because the white culture exalts their white hobos in movies. So I have to make sure that
the traveling man idea of expansion is what the hobo man represents.
For them. So
not for us, but also for us, recognizing that we were hobos in the early days of freedom.
That's right. What I'm saying is they look down.
What were we trying to do?
We were trying to put our families back together. And but that's most people don't realize that. They read the European narrative. Right. They say we were walking aimlessly around, but actually we were putting our families back together. So that's why I use the hobo term, black hobo, because they exalt their hobo. So when I say black hobo, we are exalting our people because we know our people were on a mission, not just traveling across the country like the hobos or the white hobos were, but we were traveling to put our families back together.
Or to escape oppression.
Exactly. Right.
Seeking employment in the North. Using the rail system.
So the clown
the affectionate hobo.
Right. The clown
Charlie Chaplin.
But I'm talking about the clown in white face with the red around the lips and the curly red afros.
Oh, you're talking about caricature.
That's right. Those are representation and making fun of the black hobo. The white people, white class, made fun of the black hobo, who they mischaracterized as being just wanderers aimlessly, and they should have stayed in slavery. So when you understand that, when you put a picture of Extension next to a picture of Tekashi 6ix9ine, what's his name? Extension has an 11. It's small. It's in black. He has the tats on there. When you see Tekashi 6ix9ine, he has this 6'9" and it's real exaggerated and big. But when you look at their faces, you can see that he was, in my opinion, following Extension, who was the true exact article, and he is a caricature or a clown of what hip hop is, and that's what you would call a watering down. What we're seeing right now in hip hop is a watering down. Anytime we accept, in my opinion, and anytime we accept white artists doing hip hop music, and they're going yo yo yo. They're like clowns. They're like the white people who put on the clown face, and even the white folks that put on the minstrel show, and they're making fun of black culture, in which hip hop is a culture, which is actually really our culture, something that still hasn't been taken away in its purest form, because there are still hip hop albums coming out. J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, you name it, Mos Def, Talib Kweli. So that's what it is. So when people look at it, you got to be able to, just because they know the algorithms and they know how to produce a track.
Get on TV.
They know how to produce a track.
This is
I
Flint.
think she's gonna be disagreeable. She's gonna be disagreeable. Look, she disagreeable. No.
She didn't sign her contract, so she didn't want to stay. She just made a cameo.
So look, anytime that we listen to white folks doing hip hop, they are characters of hip hop.
Well, how about cultural appropriation of what it is?
Misappropriation.
Well, they're making money, and black people are buying,
and they're buying people who are making fun of what they're doing and using it. Well, that's basically what it is. Because one day they can shave down. He can go get the pigment and pigment his skin back in, cut his hair, get one of the alt-right haircuts, and become alt-right. He can do that. We're never gonna get away from this unless we're Sammy Sosa. But even then, they know who Sammy Sosa is.
We got friends who are dark skinned who don't have white understandings or leanings. You know, many Anglophites. But I recognize what you're saying. But the original spirit, recognizing in some of the stuff in the readings I know you've done, the amiable hobo, as we saw in the Charlie Chaplin era, and his travelings about, having read about it in some of the stuff, was to symbolize the true spirit of brother, can you spare a dime? Helping other Americans by taking to the rails and getting an opportunity to go west, young man, and all those kind of expansionist theories. The haplessness of the average individual at that time, seeing the imaging of somebody who's down and out, still trying to make their way. The aimless hobo. So that's what that spirit of America was.
Go west, young man. Yeah. Oh, who went west first? Because
the Indians. They're trying to get away from the white man.
No. Okay. Well, that was us then. And then who went west?
I ain't no
next?
Indian.
Who was the original cowboy?
Oh, the freed slaves who were the blacksmiths.
That's right. They were the first ones to go, but then somehow, about maybe 20, 30 years later, all of a sudden they only tell the story of the people who came 20, 30 years later after blacks had come in and settled California. And then
Hispanics, come on now. Those weren't blacks, those were Hispanics, Native Americans. That was all Mexico. That was all Mexico.
Wait a minute now. Do we agree or not that the blacks were used as a buffer against the Native Americans? Who
I don't know if buffer. How about the direct eradicator due to the term of
what was the Buffalo Soldier?
The Buffalo Soldier. True. Okay. But that was more for the Southwest against the Mexicans.
But who went out west first? Can we agree on that? Who was out west first?
Asians, Mexicans.
Okay, wait.
Indians, Mexicans.
We're not talking about the indigenous people here, because we were here before the Japanese and the Chinese. Will we agree with that?
What do you mean, here in America?
We were here in America before them, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
So who went out west first? We're not talking about who
did the expansionist theories. The white folks, Lewis and Clark and guys like that, after those Louisiana Purchase and getting all those lands and then conquering Mexico.
Who went out west and conquered the West before the next set of whites, before the people who were the original explorers, who had black men with them who were drawing their lines?
I don't know if I agree with that black people were in mass.
Who is California?
Mexicans.
No.
Yes.
Who's Cali?
Mexicans.
That was a black.
That's an American name. What was it called before that? Mexico.
No, man.
Mexico. Yes.
No. See, you're going back. Okay, so we can talk about that, but we're talking about settling
individuals.
The West.
Some of the San Diego.
Okay, Google it, people, because
San Diego,
I believe, Cali is a black goddess, actually, And so what I'm saying to you is things that we do, we forget that we do them.
They're not forgetting.
And it's taken away from
Blacks settled San Diego and Los Angeles, but they were original Spanish.
They also settled Chicago.
Yeah, well, the founder of Chicago, DeSoto, but yes, but at the same time, these individuals, the people who were there, who gave the American symbolism to the name, may have been of a melanated nature. But over time, those exploits like San Diego, Chicago, and other places have not been purported to the people, so the information is lacking. They attribute it to different things. But historically, as you said, Google it, yes. Some African settlers were those first settlers of some of the largest places in California.
You know,
when they were escaping poverty, racism, and all the other stuff that existed at that time.
Did you know? I learned this from Tariq Nasheed's podcast.
Tariq.
Okay.
What up, man?
But what's going on? But he has a band now called Mink Slide. But there was a place in North Carolina, a city called Mink Slide, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And it goes against the narrative that they constantly press in films that black people are hapless when the time comes in battle and they get killed up. Because I noticed that you sometimes reference that that's not real, like the Purge, like the first Purge at the end. We're not going to spoil it. Go see the film. But there is a victorious moment.
You're living it.
Okay. So.
Oh, who's right?
If there is
California was named after a black woman. Yeah, we got that, T.
Okay. So listen.
Don't be just supporting your man. What about what I say? Get out of this room.
So listen. If they constantly kick a narrative to a group of people, and we know that film wasn't originally made to help us, but we have our voices now. If they kick a narrative to make people believe that they can't do something, and it's constantly perpetuated, then you take it into your psyche and say, we will never be able to do this. But Mink Slide, North Carolina, totally goes against. Now, this is how he told the story, and we're going to make it real quick. He talks about a woman goes to a white-owned radio shop, I guess in the next town adjacent. I don't know why she didn't go to the black radio shop, because I know this was right after World War I. So I know there were plenty of radio techs who came back from World War I, because we fought in that war. We fought in World War II. We wasn't having that shit. But anyway, so she takes the radio. So she comes back to get the radio. These folks in the other town, these white folks, then sold her radio to somebody else, and they trying to stiff her out and say, we're not giving it, because just like the Dred Scott decision said, there is no law that the white man will honor where it pertains to black people. They were applying that Dred Scott decision to her. You got to know your history.
That's a reach.
You got to, hey, that's what it is. No, I don't have to honor anything on you because you're not human, Dred Scott. But anyway, so look,
that's a reach.
That's true though. That's what it said.
Litigation
had to do. He couldn't have a gun, but it was about him owning ownership. But the judge went and expanded in his word. Go get the Dred Scott book. It's a big book. Got to go to the library like that. Got Dred Scott. You got to go there. Just Google. Go library, man. Back in the day when I read it, we had to go to the library. But Google it now, because Google is your friend. Okay, now so she goes back and gets her son, who just came back from the war. He's also a boxer. So he goes in there and they say, threatens. Well, he didn't threaten. He said, can you pay my mother the money for the radio that you sold, because you were supposed to be repairing it? And so they said no. So then they get into a shouting match, and then the white person wants to get physical, and he starts putting a whipping on this white boy, and he throws him out the window. Some accounts say that both of them went out the window. Other accounts say that he tossed him out the window, jumped out, and they were scrapping outside. Then the other white folks came in. Of course, they always jump into it, and they was jumping on him. And wait a minute. And his mother got a piece of shard glass and started stabbing them dudes, right? So then they go to the court. They let him go, right? Because the town is a business town next. Mink Slide, North Carolina, is a business town. No, but we're going to slow this down a little bit, because you have to hear this. You have to hear this. It has to be clear for you so you understand what the possibilities are. So then they went back and they did some, as Tariq Nasheed says, white because it's right because I said so. A white is right type of thing, and so they charged him with some things. So the business people went and got the NAACP. NAACP come in, they get him off. So
the
then,
legal system that they put fried information for got him on.
Right. No.
Because it went to court.
No. Wait a minute. I'm saying they went to court, but they used why we have John Q. Why we have John Q. Jim Crow. John Q. Crow Esquire is because of the fact that our people coming through black colleges getting that education were able to go to court and win court cases that they don't tell you about. It's always, we only won civil rights. We didn't win when we went into battle. That's what they tell you in the films. Whenever there's battle, there's Mississippi. Women, Mississippi burning. Fake. We're sitting up here like this. And that's not how it is.
The whole thing was fake, though.
Now, wait.
You know that.
Let me finish.
The story was fake because at the end they paid the money and the guys confessed to doing it for Life magazine. Put that out there. No. That's the facts.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Let
me finish the thing. So look. They get them off and everything. So then the people decided they're gonna come into the town like what they did to Rosewood and what they did to.
You're stuck in movies. Go ahead.
No. I mean, this is what they chose to do. I'm telling you, I'm recounting the story that he told.
All right. Yeah,
now all people have to do is Google. All they have to do is just Google it, and it'll be their friend. All right. Mink Slide. All they have to do is Google it, and they will see. So now,
Tariq said this story to report what?
Let me finish. Let me finish the story because they have to hear the story.
Have to hear the story?
You're interfering. You're making it longer by interfering. You're interfering. He's interfering. I feel oppressed. Anywho, okay. So they decided to come into town. So white folks come to town, but the owners, the business people were on top, capping these dudes as they were coming in, and then. So Google the rest, and then you'll see the rest of the story. But we have had wins and successes. But, as it erodes, and then as the generations go on and they come into, we have to be kumbaya and we have to forgive. We forget. And so the whole thing is to remember. His point was to remember our greatness and remember what we've done. Don't let them just keep on pumping just Oklahoma to you or just a Rosewood to you. Let's start telling the stories where we actually existed and the towns continued. Let's talk about those stories. Let's talk about where we won in battle and quit thinking that every time we see something in movies where we actually win, it would be considered fake and unrealistic when that's not the truth.
Y'all should go see Hell Up in Harlem, 3 the Hard Way.
And you should see Cotton Comes to Harlem.
Superfly.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Come Back Charleston Blue. Those are movies that expose and express, and even what's happening. I mean, they're making a remake of Uptown Saturday Night now.
All right.
Yeah. Kevin Hart and all of them going to be doing a Bill Cosby.
So this might be one of those films like what we were talking about on movies, music, culture, and whatever else
Shameless
comes to
plug.
mind.
Hey, who's right
new podcast with my wife and I, and what we were talking about, having an all-star cast of the established black actors and the new upcoming actors, and maybe the people that are in the middle in between Black Hollywood. This might
What's
be one
happening,
of those
Tanya?
pictures.
Appreciate you taking time to say hi to us. And Tracy's always supporting her man. Tracy, come on, man. You ain't got to support this guy. You can go on the outside.
We are.
They're a team.
We are one. Truly, we are one.
Wait, she said, yeah, Come Back Charleston Blues soundtrack was killing it. Remember? And it had a little black revolutionary in there. And he's cutting them with the knife. It was a good movie. With a razor. With a razor. But they're doing Bad Boys 3 finally. They got Will to do that. They're making some movies. It's Back to the Future, yo. That's what I'm trying to tell us. And I've been intonating. They're taking us back.
Okay, I
for
have
these
a question.
images
I have a question
to present us something in the future.
I have a question.
What's the question, brother?
Because there are
Where's your flux capacity?
There are black voices making this Back to the Future. Sometimes you have to know where you've been because we somehow as a people choose to forget or think that things are old, but you still know who a little kid, 5 years old, black, will still know who Elvis Presley is.
Because they keep that...
Wait a minute.
I don't want Elvis.
But
they keep that culture alive.
But they will know who Eminem is. They will know who Justin Timberlake is.
Because we know.
They will know who Anne Margaret is.
Because of the images that were created at
that time. They will definitely know who Marilyn Monroe is.
So do you?
They will know who James Dean is.
What's the point, though?
We have to begin to cut that off and know who Thurgood Marshall is. But one thing about that, just a side note, just a preface here.
Yeah, because
no little kids are gonna go see a rated R movie about Thurgood Marshall, so we can wipe that out now. Compared to Panther is a cartoon. They're not gonna go see Thurgood Marshall because it's a rated R film, and so they won't even get the concept. Maybe 15, 16, 17-year-olds.
Or any of those
movies.
Mean,
they will watch that because that's hip and fast, and they do watch that. But you would have to get the people who are in control of those classes, who happen to be young, educated. Well, they played around in college, and then they played around in college, and then they said, let me get a bachelor's art degree, then I can just go teach the little black kids in the ghetto. And you're going to really rely on that particular woman who's afraid of her shadow to actually play Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, yes, you should demand that they play Hidden Colors.
That should come 1, 2, 3, and 4. No, I want that in school. I want that for my family.
Play it in school so that everybody can see it.
No, at college level we can discuss it, yes. But that's up to the families to discern and to prepare their individual black children, male and female, by giving them the psyche to develop their own intestinal fortitude against the images you just purported to us. Elvis, forget about Elvis. He copied everything off James Brown. And Margaret, what about Dorothy Dandridge and the people who came, maybe Marilyn Monroe? What we have to do is sustain ourselves within our own
Dorothy Dandridge
But that's our fault. That's our own fault.
Harry Belafonte.
That's still our fault. Now they have the images of Kanye.
Sidney Poitier.
Right, but that's it. The only thing about maybe going back to the future is if we adopt and accept what they're giving us, which is taking us back to plan for the future. We will go back to Martin. We'll go back to Malcolm. We'll go back to William Delaney. We'll go back to Paul Dunbar. We'll go back to Phyllis Wheatley. We'll go back to Louis Armstrong. When we were at our greatness, when it was more oppressive, as it was reported.
We'll go back to Dizzy.
We'll go back since that's what's happening. Everything is
going
back.
We'll go back to John Coltrane.
Were we not stronger then? But we can learn from John Coltrane. Dizzy lived and died of natural causes, so to speak. John Coltrane was a dope fiend. We're doing the same thing. Michael Jackson, a dope fiend. Prince, a dope fiend. If we can go back.
So you go back
to the future.
You get those lessons, so you don't have to make the same mistakes again. So that's why those black voices are making films now.
Ed Martin. Thank you very much, man. He just got in.
What's going on, Ed? How you doing? How's the acting? How's the acting going? Like, did you get that camera yet? Did you start writing scripts?
You write a script? Man, we got to write a script. I got a script. I got tons of scripts, man. But the reality is, if we accept what they're giving us in terms of this going back to the future, by taking us back, we're looking at several elected officials, making it a little local here, going back in the things that they want to do, back to plan for the future. But we have to recognize the mistakes, the malignment, and the errors, whether over error, under error, to make an improvement. And accept that if we are going back to the future because of the colonial laws they're trying to reinstitute or conservative laws they're trying to reinstitute, whether it's changing taxes, what they're doing to make businesses individuals, or to take African American scholarship out of the admittance for college. We got a lot of people. Rodney's back in there. Hey, and Tracy says hi, Ed. And I'm not a messenger here. Rodney wrote something here. African American history and culture should be taught throughout the curriculum. Pre-K to 12th grade. I agree with some of that. A little bit, but Rodney, man, you wrote a lot here. And all publicly funded institutions and colleges and universities. Yeah, they need to touch on it more. This is true, but not just that. they need to do is they've done under Dr. Leonard Jeffries in New York City, the curriculum of inclusion. Everyone has a story. There's an Asian story. There's a Hispanic immigrant story, Sonia Sanchez and a lot of the early writers. All of those stories have really got to be told. Even the original stories of some of our Asians, as we talked about, there were great Asian writers who talked about their oppression and coming here and having to deal with the white man and learning those things.
You know, the stories. Perfect example of the Asian story begins at the beginning of Blazing Saddles. If you have not seen Blazing Saddles,
Mel Brooks
with
in us?
Cleavon Little in it.
You love
at
films.
The beginning of, I'm a film guy, so I have to give you what
you're talking about the Asians that were working on the railroad?
No, the railroad. So at the beginning of the film, the white cowboy, because cowboys were black. If you watch the Magnificent Seven or the Magnificent Eight, the remake with Denzel Washington, as he's walking into the bar, as he's walking up onto the platform going to the bar, one of the white men who are in cowboy gear says, "What's this cowboy doing in town?" Because the name cowboy was put on black people. Cowboy.
No, well,
they were put on us.
They were
the
original horse
by the people who came in after we had settled the
horse.
boy.
They were handlers of horses and blacksmith.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
So
back to film. To my phone.
So when you watch the
Tanya said, "Yes, sir. Blazing Saddles was hilarious."
So when you watch the opening of Blazing Saddles, can I finish?
Finish.
Opening up the Blazing Saddles.
Finish.
The white cowboy rolls up and he says,
"Slim Pickens."
And no, not Slim Pickens. Slim Pickens comes later when they roll the thing down. They put him in the cement. Okay, I get to that. Get to that. Very important. The Asian person falls out, and the white man says, "Dock that chink for a day's pay for falling asleep on the job."
Right.
That is the story of many of the so-called minorities. Black people fight. We fight. We get out there and we fight the civil rights fight, the human rights fight, and then who's sitting in the back while we're doing the human rights fight saying nothing? The people that we're fighting the human rights for. We have not finished getting ours yet, so I'm not really concerned about the Asian story, because the Asian story is at the very beginning of Blazing Saddles, and that was their significance, because this story in America is between black and white. That's what this is, and everybody else falls in between. It's black and white. It's the women's suffrage movement, which was supposed to be the liberal women. It was supposed to be about slave emancipation, and then once the black man was going to get the vote over them, they turned into Margaret Sanger and started eugenics. It became eugenics.
That's a reach.
That's true.
Hey, Rodney says hi to Tracy.
Research who were supposed to be the liberal women in the women's suffrage and why the women's suffrage was started, and it's always an issue between black and white. This country is black and white.
From Blazing Saddles to the women's suffrage movement?
Because it's all close.
Okay, let's go back to Blazing Saddles for a second.
The Blazing Saddles.
Mel Brooks was supposed to cast
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor came fucked
but
up.
However,
he cast Cleavon Little.
Yes, he
Just
did.
imagine if that platform of Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, or Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, were incorporated back then. They would have made a lot more movies. So even its insidiousness, it was still a great writing coup. But we have to look at what Mel Brooks said about Richard Pryor. He didn't want to make him a bigger star, or make him, he appreciated drugs, all that. Because I'm sure he may have used the N-word too. But at the same time, Mel Brooks was a creative genius. Good movie.
Mel Brooks, that movie would not pass a censor test today just because of who made it and the context of what was passed. There's a lot of things.
It's about money. It's about money, and that was the other thing. Richard Pryor wanted too much money because Gene Wilder was.
No. He was. The story they tell is that he was under the influence.
Right.
He showed up under the influence. Right. And women. The guy who originally was supposed to play the fastest gun in the West, he was an alcoholic.
Who, Gene Wilder?
No, not Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder took his place.
I didn't know that. Yeah. But anyway, don't make those. I want to go back to the symbolism of what you were talking about. Asians, and through building the transcontinental railroad, were able to go across America. Okay, but even in the smaller 40s or late early turn of the century, in places like San Francisco, places like Los Angeles, and even New York, they were able to develop their own structures and have their own say. In California currently, the mayor of Chinatown is going to, possible mayor of Chinatown, it could be two, the mayor and the city council, African American women. But there are towns in other places like in New York where they have their own congressmen. I don't say their own, but they have Asian representation of their own.
Let me tell you something.
But as these Asians came in through America, many were allowed to come in, and I know this because I took a class on that, not with that class, but the laws were changed to allow them to come in and go back to China and bring people in terms of their own servitude. That's why Asian American restaurants flourished through America. They could go back and bring their own in, even when there were laws against African Americans. There were laws that they used to bring in, similar to what Trump is doing with his wife under a special protocol. But that's what one of the flourishments that people don't want to describe of the Asian, because it was all through Chinese restaurants.
Okay, what's the Congresswoman's name? Barbara Jordan?
In Texas?
No, not Barbara Jordan. I'm missing it. But anyway,
I know
back in the 70s, she wrote a report about how immigration.
It was Barbara Jordan.
Okay, how immigration was negatively affecting the plight of black people.
All people.
Black people in particular, because
in those regions, they were able to work for less money.
It was set up to make sure that the gains that black folks got through the civil rights movement were afforded, because they would bring these people in and then change it from civil rights that had to do with black folks to move it over to minority, and thus they became minorities. And so the immigration system is one big trick in bag for black people in this country. So again, like I said, I mean, I would like to, I'm glad I will hear their story one day after black people take their rightful place in this country.
Yeah, there is a rightful place.
There is a rightful place.
Nah, the rightful place.
There's a rightful place.
Where they earn to be, as in, I don't think we should do it collectively as a racist individual. But you know what? We got a few more minutes to get on up out of here, because we've been on, somebody just started, Rodney's in here talking. Rodney, man, what's up? And then you got Shehan, Don't Start This Hicks. Wow.
Don't start this what?
Shehan, Don't Start Hicks.
Don't start Hicks. Oh, okay. Shanine. Hey, what's going on, Shanine?
We got
Don't
Shanine.
Start Nothing Hicks. Yeah.
Yeah, we will start something. That's what we do. It's nothing but the facts, baby. You got here, you knew we were starting shit. Rodney's up all in the place. But Asians, yeah, they're either the minority because they're quiet and they fit in and they assimilate well.
And this is my point.
This
is what we started with. This is what we started with at the very beginning.
Assimilation.
And this is wrapping back around.
We're wrapping now.
Do you remember what they did to Bruce Lee?
What do you mean?
How he developed Kung Fu?
You mean Juk Lee or whatever it is?
No, Kung Fu. The
movie. Oh, how they cut him out and then gave it to
how they cut him out and then how they cut him out of movies and said that he went. Do you not think? I mean, just thinking.
Because that was his. People ain't not know. Give them the backstory. Bruce Lee came to shoot that because he wanted to go from the Asian movies.
Well, he did Green Lantern first.
Right.
And he was so dynamic on screen that this was being developed, that he developed.
And he told them, and if you look at that trailer, because I saw that also, if you look at a trailer that he had way back when, he was going to do a camera shot, right? Or some kung fu shit, and he knew that the camera wasn't in the right place, and he told them, you need to move the camera over here, motherfucker, so you can get my shit right, because this is my shit.
Right.
And you may doing this the white man's way.
Right.
But you need to focus on where my energies is pushing this energy to. So he was directing.
And you knew they didn't like that.
Right, they didn't like that. But at the same time, Kung Fu was being developed by
Bruce Lee.
But they chose.
He gave it to David Carradine. Right. And before I saw a Bruce Lee film, I used to think Kung Fu was it with them slow moves. He was doing Tai Chi. He was doing Tai Chi. So when you see
Rodney's back in here with the Green Hornet. Yo, Rodney, man, get off the phone, man.
Green Hornet. It was Green Hornet, not Green Lantern. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't the Green Lantern, the Brown Hornet. But anyway,
I would have seen that.
Anyway, listen. So don't you think? Just common sense. If I was common sense white person,
Asians is not common.
True. Asians have a grudge, and they're going to do to white people what black people will never do to black people. They're going exact revenge and take power.
They're
going to take power. They're going to take social power. They're going to take economic power. Look, they're getting rid of the Mexicans because they're afraid the Mexicans are going to do that. But any Mexican I've ever seen, they play the back and they play low. And even though all this is going on, they're still right outside of Home Depot. They're still waiting to get picked up to do odd jobs. I'm just saying, I'm not saying all. I'm saying, but they both play it back. I don't see anybody come in and doing anything. That's my opinion. And you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, they're not really doing anything. They don't speak about us. When it's time to be on TV to talk about us, when we get mangled, they be like, hey, they missing in action. Oh, weren't we just with you when they
not all of us, because Sharpton works with the Puerto Ricans.
No. He works with them, but do they come and reciprocate?
Look, you're lumping all Latinos together, and that's not enough.
One or two with a sign. One or two. How about a mass of 300? You know what? How we know that these different people are on our side? How we know that these different people are on our side if there's a mass of 300 that come out to everything? 300 Chinese, 300 Japanese, 300 Koreans, 300 Vietnamese, 300 Hispanics, 300 whatever group it is, Slovakians, whatever. If you're really for it, you're going to have that mass 300 making it happen because it only took 300. Ooh, and we're going to leave it right there. So what I'm saying is, there is a mass reckoning coming, and most of the people who that's why they're ignorant whites.
Crazy Adamus.
That's right. That's ignorant whites and the white power structure that's worried about keeping black people down because they think black people are going to exact some kind of revenge because if the roles were reversed, they would. It's coming from the people who they have infiltrating the colleges and working in the colleges now. I mean, that is an infiltration, though.
No, that's doing the work to get in, brother. Come on, man.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man.
Come on now.
You went to school.
And listen. That's right. It was hard work. So what, though? Right. So what? And guess what, though? What? We was all by ourselves except for a few people. Even all black. We was just all by ourselves.
Everybody don't make it. Everybody ain't supposed to make it.
But it seems like these groups, they want everybody to make it. Of course, they have their criminal element.
You got to do the work.
They have their criminal element, but for the most part, they're about their people making it, and we have to be about our people making it. And there is a reckoning coming. And all black people have to do is just sit back because the very people that the white folks are entrusting to come in and take over and be a buffer between us and them are the very ones that's going to exact a revenge upon them that they don't even see coming. And that's what we're going to come in. We wrap back around. This is good. This has been a robust? Nothing but the facts podcast. Today. These are the new t-shirts. They will be available for sale shortly. Make sure you get them. We're going to have them in all colors, designed by yours truly here.
We should put that on the back.
On the back? What's that?
Nothing but the facts.
No, on the front. You walk. I see
nothing but the facts in the front and in the back.
No, because they see the whole concept of it, the thought process. They say, what's Nbdf stand for? And then you
turn around and go, nothing but the facts.
No. Nothing but the facts. Produced by Lordland Films. That's what's on the back. LordlandFilms.com. You know what I'm saying? People will sponsor the shirt. Yeah, LordlandFilms.com.
Oh man, I'm branded.
Yeah, that's right.
You mean I'm branded?
So, branding. Yo. That's what it's about. It's about that. So listen. You want us to come out and do this in your location. There will be a minimal fee to do so, but we will come out here and we will have this.
She Hicks wants a V-neck. That's for ladies.
Okay, that's right. We'll be working on that. Little tight on the arms and stuff.
And Rodney, what you put in there? Rodney put something in there too, man.
They put their muscles out there.
Muscles.
Yeah, we get
talking
that.
About cleavage.
No. V-neck and with the
drop
tight arms and cut off there to show the muscles of the women there.
I've been branded.
Have all that.
I've been branded.
So you want us to come out there? Be a minimum fee. We're gonna come out there and do this. LordlandFilms.com is expanding its technology and making this happen.
Brian, talk about Brian.
Oh yeah, wait. I'm getting to that.
This guy's slow, man. It's New York, man. Come on, you gonna buy the suit or not?
Oh yeah, you know what happens in New York.
shit happens.
Yeah, that's right. So listen, so LordlandFilms.com. Make sure you go there and you go to the YouTube channel. You can see us on Cox Cable through the Contour.
Sure,
you go to apps, go to YouTube. That's bull. That's okay. We're gonna get slim and black. We got that coming in the fall with the long sleeves. You know what I'm saying? Because we make it happen. We open it up. Don't forget, in August we have also we had a Miss Diva Comedy Digital going on to all social media. You're gonna be able to get it, download it, do everything with it. You're gonna be able to see it. So shout out to Catrice Thomas. She's Miss Diva. She imitated her dad, and she did hilarious. The crowd was cutting their side. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna enjoy it. If you go to the Crazy Dee page right now, you will see the behind-the-scenes interview when we first kicked off. I first kicked off the first live stream with Miss Diva knocking out the kinks. You know, experimentation. You know what I mean? Hair? You know, no. And nothing wrong with that kinky hair, though. You know what I'm saying? I got the wave up here like somebody told me when we sat down. First time I met him, he came out. I said, damn, this nigga a hater. But anyway, he said, a hater. This nigga a hater. Hey, that's all he acted. He walked out. I never met the dude. He talking about, oh, you got the European man upside and you got this back here. I said, I can't help it how the sun touched my hair with the beauty and how my mix where I come from. But anyway, so now. Don't get me started.
Too late.
Because when you get me started, it is something. Okay, so.
Oh, man.
Black Book TV is coming, people. I am a person, I am the ingester. I'm the person that's going to ingest content. We are looking for content providers. I'm also a content provider, but I'm not one of them selfish MFers that's talking about it's all me. We're looking for content providers who can come in and bring interesting shows. And then if you don't have the equipment to actually produce your 10 episodes, get with me. There is a nominal fee, but the prices to have a half-hour show and an hour show are rock bottom low. You're not going to find those prices anywhere in the introductory fee. It's go on my website. It's there. I'm not going to quote any prices here, but let me tell you, it's rock bottom low to get a show. You know, just to get a show on NBC by itself, just to get a show, you got to start with 50.
Yeah, what is
50
that?
grand.
That's a beard? You call
50
that a beard?
grand. Yeah, you know, I cut off the front. I do the Abe Lincoln. But anyway, look.
You mean you free slaves?
Yeah, I do the Abe Lincoln. Hey, in a way, I get people seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated. So I do free people of the bondage of people not wanting to let them be seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated. So that's what we do. LordlandFilms.com.
Unless you got warrants. If you got
warrants. Of course, you know about Like It Is Radio on KCEP every Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then, of course, we have this podcast going on right here. And then, of course, we know about the breakdown. This right here, this man formulated the breakdown because somebody was losing.
I knew they were going to lose.
He is
he's back.
The reason why I love to be standing here and sitting here and talking here with Franklyn whenever we do anything is because Franklyn is a visionary. He sees, he has vision. And remember, those who do not have vision are doomed to perish. So we are here at Nothing But the Facts to be entertaining, but at the same time, kick facts, get you to go. It's so much easy. It's easier for you to go right to the library. You had to do the Dewey Decimal System, look through microfiche, and do all that, and go to the book and know how to read all that. But you can go right to Google and Google all this and find out if what we say is truly nothing but the facts. So that's why we do this, because we have to emancipate our minds and not be miseducated any longer. If you agree or don't agree, at least get the information and pass it on so that we can advance our plight. Because if what's coming down the pike, like what Frank Adamus is saying,
hard times.
It doesn't matter what Kanye said. It doesn't matter about what that other chick that was on TMZ with him said. They already think this about you already. So forget what Kanye said. Worry about
till it's done.
Yeah. So no. But keep buying his music though. I like his music.
Sorry.
But forget what he's saying because they think that already. They just needed somebody, but why do you care what they think when you know what they think? Just move on and make sure that we do our thing. So in the end, that's it. What you got to say, Franklyn? Close us out. This has been great. This is nothing but the facts.
Nothing. And that's nothing. Not nothing. Nothing.
No, it's nothing. It's nothing all the way spelled out. We have to be, if we're going to have duh instead of the, we got to be grammatically correct with the other words. Nothing but the facts. Podcast. Go ahead, Frank. I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to sit back.
No, he ain't ever going to do that. In any event, we appreciate the time you spend with us. We hope that every now and then when we reconnect, you connect with us. This is what we try to do, just providing another platform for the culture-conscious folks all over the planet, but originating here in Vegas. We got some things we dialogue about. We got room on the couch for you. If you can figure it out, we can come to you. We got the light, we got the camera. Technology is making it real easy for us to convey and get our information out there. This brother right here knows how to do it, make it happen. Tomorrow, we're supposed to go check out Cameron, 1 o'clock, 1 something. And then we're going to go over and check out one of the local festivities. I guess it's called a day party.
Yeah.
Day party.
We're going to shout out to that man that's an innovator that's getting us on the strip.
All right. Well, I think, Mr. Moore, we had a place for you. We're also going to be doing something I hope we talked about. We're looking for you in your barbershops. Yeah, we're going to have what's called the barbershop tour. We're going to go ask one particular question on one particular day and get several observations from melanated barbershops. Yeah, we can go check out some Latin barbershops too, but originally we have several African-American barbershops. We're going to start out, I'm not going to say the name, but we're going to put it all the way. We're going to work our way all the way around to the man who has several barbershops. But we're just going to go in there with a one-day question on a Saturday and ask folks what they think. So we're going to be doing that. And if you're watching, a barbershop, you want to be involved, you want to get your hair cut on the screen while we ask you a question, we're coming to do you. So we're going to get up and out of here. Remember, 2019. 400 years of recognized slavery in this country. Is 400 years long enough to have overcome the psychological, not just the institutional impediments that still exist? Is it? Because the bottom line is 400 years, Negroes is at a very low point now, just like when they came here. We own less than we owned when we were free from slavery. When African Americans were set free from slavery in about 1865, let's go 1866, we had more land ownership. We owned our land. We owned pieces of land. We have less home ownership in 2018 than we did after the first years of emancipation. Our families are spread out and stretched even more. 2019 is coming, y'all, and no one's going to talk about it but us. This is what Franklyn does. I told you who's going to lose before, and if you look at it, we're going back to the future in so many ways. Well, I guess my podcast is being interrupted. People want to talk. I don't know why, but I will call you. I got to... Yeah, and what makes it bad is this person knows I'm still doing the podcast. So, we're still doing the podcast. Why are you calling? I guess you're not watching us no more. But in any event, it's been a great day. We're going to get up out of here. This is your man, Franklyn G. F to the Jizzle, Franklyn Dominant, Student Verley, whatever you want to call me. If you see me with this man, we're doing the right thing.
Come up and talk to us at the mic.
For sure, don't hide.
Making sure that you're seeing her, recognize, and appreciate it. And you have just been watching and been entertained by Nothing But the Facts.
All right, motherfucker. Gotta add that for the New York flavor.